Welcome to this episode of Intentionally FinTech, the show where we deep dive behind the purpose of your favorite emerging or even incumbent fintech brands. I'm your host for today, Michael Phillips, the CEO and founder of a purpose-driven branding agency called Beholst. After 7 years in the creative industry and after an unfortunate wake-up call in late January, I've made it my mission to help founders like my guests here on the podcast to do what inspires them most. On this show, we're going to deep dive into the purpose and mission of your favorite emerging or incumbent fintech brands, the values that drive the day-to-day work, and just how exactly the clarity of purpose helps them navigate this otherwise cluttered environment. So let us dive in with our guest today, Jose Marti from PayPaga. How are you, Jose?
I'm doing very well. First, thanks so much for inviting me to this wonderful podcast. Excited to be chatting with you. As you mentioned earlier, this podcast is for emerging fintechs, and that's exactly what we're doing here at PayPaga. Like you said, my name is Jose Marti. I'm one of the co-founders, and I'm acting as CEO of PayPaga. Doing a little bit of everything, right? Especially when it's a startup, right? So I sometimes like to say it's not CEO, it's COE, Chief of Everything, right? That's what it takes at the beginning, right? Thankfully, we've been growing rapidly and maturing, so I have more freedom to be strategic and dig deeper into purpose, which I think it's going to be one of the main topics that we're going to be discussing. So yeah, thank you, and excited to be here.
Of course, I have you here, Jose. Okay, so just for the people who don't know what PayPaga does, do you mind introducing in just a couple of sentences what do you guys do?
Yeah, so we are a payment service provider for emerging markets. That's at a macro scale, what you can define it as. But we really are more than that. We want to be the partner to any merchant that wants to enter in emerging markets when it comes to payments, right? So if you're a European-based company and you want to enter markets like Mexico, like Brazil, like Ecuador, like Peru, you would have to go set up your local entity, set up your local operations, open up your bank accounts, do a direct integration to each one of the payment options in that country, and replicate this through any market that you want to enter, right? We at PayPaga handle that for you, right? So through one single contract, one single API, we're giving you access today to 8 different countries in Latin America, with over 55 different payment options in each one of these countries. And we're not stopping there, right? Our goal is to enter emerging markets. So those markets that are a little bit more complicated for merchants to enter, markets where the regulatory framework is difficult. We want to take that pain away from that client and make it into an ease, right? Today we're live in 8 countries and growing at a very rapid pace, right? Our head of IT, we were in a meeting yesterday and he's like, it's crazy because the roadmap that we have, it's one new country every 2-3 weeks. It's insane. I'm like, that's the speed that we need to go at, and we need to do things correctly. So yeah, very, very exciting times here at PayPaga.
Happy to hear that, and I can see it in your tone of voice. And this is exactly what we're looking for in founders who are here that have that fire in the eyes, right? And that leads me to the next question, because we talked about the what of your company, what do you do? But unfortunately, this is Intentionally FinTech. We're looking at the intention, at the founder. So let me shift the spotlight onto you, Jose. And let me ask you this. What made you want to build PayPaga? What was the moment where this all clicked and you said, I want to make this? Was this something personal for you maybe? Or was it more like a problem you couldn't ignore?
The purpose why PayPaga comes to fruition is really, it comes from a conversation I had with the co-founders. I believe that it was a very interesting case where we were speaking about the problems that this industry has, and the 3 of us, we come from 3 different backgrounds, right? One comes from a very financial background, the other comes from a very legal and compliance background, I come from a very sales background. And having this conversation and seeing what was out there in the market, we all had pain points in each one of the areas that we focused on. And we knew there was a way to perfect it, right? We took a look at at what the market was offering, and we said, hey, if this was your product, would you be proud of it? And the three of us said no. So what we're building is something that we can be very proud of. That we know there's there's a market need, because you can be very proud of something, but if nobody needs it, what's what's the pride, right? Like what does that do, right? So we obviously know there's a need. We've known there's a need because of how quickly we've grown in such a short time. But more than anything, it was a way to shift the market. We're typically working with industries that are not so traditional, right? In the online space, where for many years have been treated not in the best way, because it was kind of like you get what you get and you don't get upset. And we don't believe in that. We believe that for these industries, we can be transparent, we can be flexible on what they need, and we can build around their needs. So this could be a little bit of my sales background and nature, right? But everything that we're building at PayPaga, we do it with the mentality of client first, right? So what does the client want? What does the client need? Not what I need, not what our other co-founder needs, our head of IT. No, what are the clients looking for? And that's what we're going to be building. Because at the end of the day, the clients put food in our mouth. You know, they're the ones that let PayPaga grow and grow and grow. We're very client focused, and we've built everything on years of client feedback. I think the purpose to build something we're proud of, right? For which is great for personal gratification, right? But more than anything, to give a home to those clients that we've known for a long time, and give them a seamless, transparent, and secure payment provider to take that burden away from them. I mean, payments in any online business is kind of the foundation, right? If you have an online business, but you don't have a way for your end users to pay, then it's very difficult. And we want to take the ease, we want to take the pain away from our clients. That's the reason why we built this. We built this because we knew that this was so painful for them, and obviously because the market needed it, right? But mainly it was to solve this issue. Our merchants that we've known for years now needed to solve.
I understand. And let me ask you this, Jose. How is this important to you on a personal level? How is this important to Jose Marti, for an example? I'm not talking about the CEO, I'm talking about Jose Marti, the person.
So this is extremely important for me. I think PayPaga, it's become not my project, not my baby, not my business. No, it's my life at the end of the day, right? It consumes my 24/7 on a good note, and I wake up every morning extremely excited to build this. There's an aspect here, and I don't know how many people might be in line with this or have this thought, right? But one of the things we take into consideration a lot in PayPaga is culture, right? We come into the office, everybody gets along, everybody has a great time. We're doing hard work, but at the same time, we're having fun. And that's where I take this on the personal Jose Marti level, not in the business level, right? But I enjoy as a person coming and sitting with the people that we're working with on a day-to-day basis, right? With the IT team, with the finance team, with the marketing team, with the sales team. I mean, it's for Jose Marti, this is very important because everybody talks about work-life balance and everybody talks about building strong company culture and blah, blah, blah. But as a person, business aside, you hear it, you're on Instagram in the morning when you wake up and you see a funny joke, and the first thing that comes to your mind is like, oh, I can't wait to go to the office and tell it to the IT team because they're going to find this hilarious, right? It gives you personal satisfaction to enjoy where you're working at, right? So I think that's the most important aspect for Jose Marti tied to PayPaga. It's definitely the people and the culture that we're building in the organization.
Wonderful. Would you be okay if I introduce a certain concept? I introduce it on every single episode because this podcast is episodic, so people don't miss on anything if they just click randomly. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
I think you could also make use of it because it goes in line with what you said. You know, when people are excited to go to work and they have this sense of fulfillment, it's because they know why they go to work and the higher mission the work calls for. So let me introduce to you the golden circle. Are you familiar with this at all?
I am not. I'm not. I'm
Okay.
excited.
Well, let me see because I have to dodge the microphone. I think like this. There you go. Perfect. All right. So in the center, we have the Y, right? This is the circle. For those of you who are listening at home, there's 3 concentric circles. In the middle, we have the Y. In the middle section, we have the how. And finally, on the outskirts, we have the what. And there's no coincidence that I've chosen Y to be my accent color over here, because we need to start with Y. Because people don't buy what you do, and by buying, I mean also committing, coming to work, enjoying what you do. It's the idea of engaging in an activity. So buying with a quotation. People don't buy what you do, they buy what you do. So they don't join or buy from PayPaga or from me also because they're looking for a payment provider or they're looking for assistance in their visual aspects, but rather they buy the mission behind it. They buy the reason the company exists. And this makes sense also in the organizational level because the golden circle is not actually a circle. I lie to my guests a lot on the podcast here. It's actually a cone seen from the top. And up here we have the founder's Y, which is the CEO or the group of founders who, if you founded this in a cohort like your cases. Then we have the management's how, which is the board of directors employed by the shareholders, which are the founders. They know how to bring the mission to life. And finally, the employees what? Because they are the ones working on the product itself. So if the founders over here communicate their mission properly downward, you can see this also sort of resembles a megaphone, right? You project this mission downward, and if the management knows why they do and they know how to do it, and finally the employees know why they do what they do and how they should do it, you've properly communicated purpose. And down here is actually the market. The client also knows why you do what you do, and they become inspired to buy from you. And the client can be anyone from investors, actual customers, other external stakeholders you would be interested in having partnerships. This is something I see in VCs a lot. If you have your wife stated clearly, and you know how to communicate and you're trained in this art of starting with why, like Simon Sinek says a lot, then you can inspire and attract the right investors who believe the same thing you do, and they will be loyal investors. They won't be, if the bottom line goes red, for an example, they wouldn't be worried at all because they believe in your mission and they know you will succeed. You've inspired them. And this is something which I would like most companies to do. And it's a little bit in line with what you said, Jose, because people come to work and they feel inspired. But most of the times we don't know why they're inspired. And I noticed you also had a problem putting the point on that why, and that's perfectly normal. And this stems in our psychology as humans because we have 2 aspects of our brain. Like I always say on this podcast, we have the old brain and the new brain. I think I also told you this on the intro call we had before the podcast. But the old brain is where we have emotion and instinct. But this is the oldest part of our brain. It evolved thousands of years ago, millions of years ago, when the first crocodile was crawling out of the water. So we call this the reptilian brain also. But then we also have the new brain, the neocortex, which knows how to speak and is very logical. This is the thing we use most in our life, and it evolved 10,000 years ago when we evolved as humans. So when we talk about what and features and tech, and this is something which happens in fintech a lot, we talk to the neocortex, but we can't inspire because we need to talk to the old brain. But the thing is, the old brain doesn't know how to speak. So that's why if I were to ask you, why do you do what you do? You wouldn't know how to answer me. That's why I begin questions with how. How is that relevant? What is this doing for you personally? Because these are questions which we can target to the old brain. And finally, if you actually communicate your why clearly and you start with why, move on to the how and then to the what, you talk to the old brain in a very subtle way. And you get to inspire the old brain. And this is not me saying this is psychology. And also there's a couple of books about, psychology which sustain my point of view. So I'm really happy that you're doing this at PayPaga. And I only hope that your purpose get even clearer and not dissolve, as I've seen in many cases, as you age. But let us move on. How does this purpose that we've been talking about a lot extensively for the past 18 minutes show up in your day-to-day work at PayPaga? How the product looks, how the company speaks to its stakeholders? How does it show up?
So I loved I love the cone, and I love the how the megaphone comes out to the market, um and that's really important. Here at PayPaga, we established something called OKRs. I'm sure you're very familiar with OKRs, and we believe that everybody in the company should know where we're going, where we want to go next week, not 3 months. No, we all need to be aligned in what we call the North Star, right? What is our North Star? And I think that fits into your question, right? Which is we have it very clear where we want to go, where we want to take this, and building product that gets us closer to the North Star is extremely fulfilling. And I think if you understand where you want to be and how you're going to get there, that's why I think OKRs are very important. And I think they're very strong for any organization, is because you know where you want to go. To get there, you need to establish certain things. And maybe getting to the objective, it's not a 2 week, it's not a 5 week, it's a yearly thing, right? But celebrating each step of the way, knowing that you're a bit closer to where you want to go, drives fulfillment, right? So I think what brings purpose to all of us is understanding and knowing where we're going, where we want to go, and what is the North Star. I think that's extremely important, and I think perhaps you would agree with me, Michael.
I do agree. Having the same direction is very important. And for many of the companies I work with, we create that North Star in a way where we form the company around a just cause. Do you know what that means, a just cause? A just cause is a mission. Let me see how I can put this in brief words. It is a mission which asks nothing of you but your investment of time and belief. A good just cause is what Martin Luther King said in his speech, "I have a dream." That whole line is a just cause that rallied thousands. Another just cause is to put man on the moon. It was such a good just cause that we took up John F. Kennedy's word even after he died, and we put man on the moon. So just causes are so powerful because they touch the why. So what I inspire companies to do, the ones I work with, and also as much as I can in 40 minutes, the companies I have on the podcast, is to help start thinking about their why and make that into their North Star. Because the second we make our North Star a what, that is something which someone else can also do. And we're back into competition. But for an example, if we are putting a just cause, for example, let me give you my agency. We exist to help founders do what inspires them most and to find their purpose, such that together we can help the world become a better and more authentic place. This is the just cause. And everybody knows that if you mop the floors, if you just do podcasts or edit the podcast, if you take sales calls, if you take intro calls, if you work on the brand itself, you're helping and doing your part into this higher mission. So we are all aligned through the vision of the future. And this is what successful companies do. Look at NASA, for example, although it's a state company. If you ask, my goal basically in my consultation with my clients is to get your janitor to say that he's not wiping the floors, but rather he's contributing to something greater than himself. So for me, that is what a North Star is. But I do agree with you. It's important to be aligned on that level. Did I make sense? Or is Michael being crazy today?
It makes absolute sense. It makes absolute sense. Yep.
All right. Well, let us move to the next section of our podcast, which involves purpose and regulation. Because I think you already have the experience in fintech, and I also know, and everybody listening knows, that fintech is very popular for the red tape, for the regulation. We have PSD3 coming up right now in terms of European regulation. And I want to ask you this in light of everything that's happening. How does PayPaga stay true to its purpose in spite of there being so much regulation? And to give you some context why this question is here, because we've had guests who said that this is a hindering process. We had, and by the way, guys, if you're listening on YouTube, there's going to be a card right now where you can check the other episode of Stefan Krumbeck from ComplyPay, where he says that he wants to say some stuff, but he cannot because he will risk losing his license. But in that sense, how do you navigate this, Jose?
I think sometimes regulation can throw you off your purpose. right? So you have the purpose, you're doing something, and then a new law comes into place that can steer away from your purpose. And especially in the markets that PayPaga operates in emerging markets, you wouldn't believe it. There's some crazy regulation changes from one day to the other that keep you up at night and sometimes leave you doubting, like, is this worth it? Am I doing the right thing? What's going on? How can they do this from one day to the other? We had big plans in this country, and now with this new regulation change, where do my plans go? Right? Give you an example. Brazil recently, right? So Brazil has launched 4 or 5 years ago a payment solution called Pix, and Pix has kind of revolutionized the local and APM space. And I would say Latin America, or well, no, most people would say Latin America. I would say in the world. It's owned and operated by the central bank. It includes all the banks in Brazil. It's instant confirmation, kind of in a way like crypto transactions that are instant and quick, but through the banking system, right? So it was revolutionary. Lots of merchants said, "Wow, with such a easy payment option and so quick, it's such a big market. Let's go into Brazil." So Brazil became very, very popular. Brazil had a tax called the IOF tax, meaning for any international transactions. So it doesn't matter if our company is located in Brazil and we're the ones handling the payments. If the end funds are going to a company outside of Brazil, you have something called the IOF, right? And the IOF has always been 0.38% of each transaction. Everybody knew that. Everybody was okay paying that tax. No worries. From one night to the other, as we were sleeping here in Europe, they decided to increase it from 0.38 to 3.5% without any previous warning, nothing of that. So it leaves the merchants thinking, is it worth going into that market? After us already applying for the local license, after us building our own local entity, after us putting so much time and investment into Brazil, because it was part of the purpose, right? To ease the entry into such a large market for our merchants. And then from one day to the other, boom, it changes. So there's always going to be curveballs in fintech.
Definitely.
That's something that you need to in your North Star or in your business plan, in your purpose of how we're gonna get to what we want. There always needs to be a plan B, and sometimes depending on the country that you're going into, a plan C, right? That's also kind of the exciting part about fintech, right? It's that you need to adapt and make sure that you're adapting within regulation, but not steering away from your purpose, right?
Exactly.
So regulation, while it can make your purpose more difficult from one day to the other, I don't think it should be I think you should be able to adapt to the regulation to continue on in line to your purpose, to your North Star, to what you're looking to achieve.
Right. And I understand completely. And this is something which a past guest also touched upon. I'm saying this so that people check out my other episodes also. I think it was a Husk who said that we exist due to regulation because they keep us motivating, and we like challenges, so they take all these changes and curveballs, like you said, challenges to see how bulletproof their just cause is, so that they can, it's just they like a challenge, so they take it like a game, and they're successful in that sense. So that was really interesting to hear. But all right, now it's about time for my favorite question of the deck, and the loyal viewers already saw what I grabbed from the table, so they already know what this is happening. Imagine this AirPods case was a magic wand, right? And if I were to wave it like this, anything that you would like to change about your business would change. What would you change and why?
There's something that we're working on, and it's part of the North Star, part of the purpose, part of why we built PayPaga, which is the automation of things. If we can put a magic wand, nobody in the finance team would be using Excel. Nobody in the support team would be inputting the merchant fees that we're selling to the merchants. Nobody in legal would be doing red lines on agreements. What we want to do and what we are going to do, not what we want to do, what we are going to do is reach full optimization in the process of a merchant onboarding to PayPaga. How easy was it to open up a Facebook account, right? That
Yeah.
That's the ease that we want our merchants to have with PayPaga, right? We're talking about payments, which is, it's difficult to get there, but that's where we're going. If I can wave a magic wand, that's what I would want. I would want the Facebook experience in payments. So merchant logs in, signs up, gets their sandbox, gets their agreement, understands how to use a back office, all without speaking to anybody in the company. Why do I say that? There's always going to be manual work, right? There's always going to be manual work. I'm not AI sales agents are going to close the deal, or AI bots are going to write the code, right? There's always going to be manual work. But I believe if you can automate as much as you can in each one of the departments, you will have happier employees. You will have people thinking and strategizing more than inputting, right? So magic wand is the Facebook experience. Let's put it that way.
I understand. Well, what I can do, I can just wave it like this, but I can't promise anything. But
Okay.
but you know,
Bring it again, just in case.
yeah, you can call me tomorrow. Let me know if something changed. But you know, it's a very funny thing because you, without realizing right now, just told me your why. You did. This is how the reptilian brain works. When I asked you this about what would you change, you told me exactly your why. It has nothing to do with payments, to be honest with you. And I can fill up your whole golden circle right now, just because we also had the intro call and you told me a little bit about your backstory. So would you be down for me to do this real quickly right now? Because I just wrote it down because otherwise I'd forget it. So, basically, PayPaga is an extension of you, Jose. Why is it relevant to you personally? Or how is it relevant to you personally? Right? So your why, Jose, is to simplify the overly complicated, unnecessarily complicated things in life, such that together we can focus on what matters, or like you said, so that we can live a happier and more fulfilled life. This is your why, because you told me a story and I've seen the recurring theme of people. So you're a very empathetic person and you like to help people, and you do it like we say for free, in the sense that you don't expect not necessarily something in return. You like to do that. It gets you off. And I noticed the theme of people recurring and the theme of time also. And now when you told me what you change, the idea of automation saves time. So you want to simplify the overly and uselessly complicated processes such that together we can focus on what matters. That's how I'd put your why. Does that strike a chord at all?
That's spot on. That's spot on, because the biggest pain point we were seeing is it would take 6 months to onboard a new merchant, and then that merchant would be operated by a team of 45 people in finance, putting in Excels till late at night, not being happy with their job, and so on and so forth, right? So PayPal, yeah, it was built to ease the merchant experience when it comes to payments in emerging markets, and to ease the people behind it, right? For them to be able to think on what's important. How do I make this experience easier for our merchants?
Exactly.
Rather than, I want people thinking, how do we make the experience easier for the merchant, rather than you know, like you said, rather than doing things that divert away from that. So I think brilliant, Michael.
You see how the reptilian brain works? I just need to distract you a bit. And I always love the face my guests make when I have this moment. It's amazing. I love it. But yeah, okay. Let's move, now that we have let's move to the external stakeholders. Do you think investors can tell when a fintech actually stands for something? Or do you think all they look at is, okay, we have the pitch, it looks okay, the pro forma statements are sensible enough, the assumptions look okay, and then we invest? Which one do you think? Do you think they look for purpose, or do they have a checklist which they analyze, and if you check that checklist, they invest? If not, no.
So I'm gonna go back to the recurring theme, which is people, right? I also think investors, you can have a shiny deck, you can have good and fantastic projections, but I think investors also look at the people aspect. Who is behind this? How enthusiastic are they about the project? How clear do they have the idea? How clear do they have their North Star? Obviously, there has to be an aspect of how clear are these people relaying the need there is for such a product, right? That goes. You could be the kindest person in the world. Nobody's gonna say, "Here's $1 million to do something that doesn't work." But I think it's a combination of having clear purpose and the clear why and the clear North Star combined with the people behind the project. I think again, people is something that I believe in quite a lot, right? Because without good people, without motivated people, without people that have that purpose, nothing can happen, in my opinion. So that's how I take it. I don't know what you think, Michael.
I agree, and I have many stories from my VC friends which support you. One of them is one which I already said too many times on this podcast, but I'll say it again. I have this VC friend back in Amsterdam, and what he said is this: there's this crypto guy who came to him to get investment. I don't remember the amount or the percentage that he asked for, but what I remember is that the solution was, I remember the what. So this should be already an alarm thing. He wanted to make this crypto thing where you could pay with crypto at the grocery store. So they had these cards where you could just, you know what I'm talking about. And he came to get some funding. And what happened was this. He looked at the deck, he looked at the assumptions, and he invited them over to present. He presented, and the deck looked fine. He even had the mission, vision, and value statement on the slide. So mind you, he should have passed that checklist. But you know, like, I can tell when a person means what they're saying when they don't. And I can tell you do, because you have that fire in your eyes. But this guy was just like, he was faking it very well, but not well enough, apparently. Because although it looked like the perfect thing, and remember in the intro call I told you the story with the chef? Yeah. Although it looked perfect, he withdrew his investment. Do you know why? Because although he had that mission, he didn't believe in it himself. And if the founder himself doesn't believe in that mission, doesn't internalize it, how can you expect him to work for that mission? So I agree with you.
That's in line. That's exactly that's what I believe in. I think that's the most important part, right? It's being enthusiastic about your project, because how many great products tech-wise have you seen that fail? So the technology stack is fantastic, but they fail. And how many terrible products have you seen that are doing millions and millions and millions and millions and millions a month, right? And I think it's the people behind it and how enthusiastic they are about it and how much they believe in it that drive the financial performance of any company. Because again, so many times I've been presented like, wow, and I see the tech stack and what they've built, and I'm like, so what's your EBITDA? And they're like, oh, negative 2.5 million. I'm like, how? If I had a product like this, I could sell it like I don't know, like water in the desert, you know? So believing in what you're doing and being enthusiastic about it, I believe is one of the most important pieces in the success of any company.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do stuff. For an example, the best example I can give you, and I assume you know this example, is when Microsoft Zune, the competitor from the Apple iPod, was also launched at the same time they launched the iPod Nano. And there was Simon Sinek. He had a short conversation with both directors of product development, something like that. And he had a conversation with both of them. And when he talked to the guy from Microsoft, he said, "Yeah, well, we have the best technology. It's I forgot exactly, but he was talking about the what itself. How it's different. How is it better? What do we have that the Apple doesn't have?" But he also went to the same conversation with the Apple director. Do you know what? And he said this, Simon Sinek, to the Apple executive. You know, Microsoft Zune prides themselves to be better than you in everything technology. What do you have to say about that? Do you know what Apple said?
No.
One line. I certainly don't doubt that. Because Microsoft was just copycatting what Apple was doing, while Apple has its why to break the status quo such that together we can reach new peaks in technology. So then people buy why Apple does this. And on some level, I buy Apple products, AirPods, MacBook. The only thing which is not Apple here is this. We buy it because I buy it because I believe I think differently on some level. So I align. This is the power of a why. Well, let us move a little bit into the whole fintech. Let's step back. If more fintechs were to lead with why, how would you think the industry would change?
I think there would be, going back to my why, I would say, I think there would be a lot more automation because we get lost in regulation, or we get lost in purpose, or we get lost in building the next thing. But I think what the end user and the merchant, whether you're B2B or B2C, what everybody's looking for in fintech, in my opinion, is transparency, quickness, and ease. Right. So I don't know how many fintechs, if they went to their why, would come to a common why in fintech, right? But yeah, I think companies would start growing quicker with adapting this why philosophy, and something that I'm going to look into more after this podcast and try to share it with the leaders, try to share it with pretty much everybody in the company, because I think it's extremely useful, Michael.
It is. Well, this is kind of the effect this podcast has on founders. And I'm happy because it serves my mission. All right. Now, we talked about curveballs, right? In fintech. I have one for you. Are you familiar with a celery test?
Celery test? Like
Yes.
this, like the food test? No, I have no idea.
No. Okay, so let me introduce it to you in a brief way. If I were a health guru, right? Which would you think I'd sell you? A bag full of fast food, some fries, fried chicken, hamburgers, cheeseburgers? Or would I sell you a salad with maybe celery inside, some other legumes? Which one do you think I'd sell you?
Salad, I'm assuming.
Yes, because I mean, if you put enough salad on a burger, you can think it's a meat salad, but we're not looking for that. It's the salad, because this is in tune with my purpose. And it's what I'm selling you. It's also how I talk to you. It needs to be aligned with my purpose to get you feeling better. Now, this is what I do with guests here on the podcast. I look at maybe their website or whatever they want to give me access to. I take a look at it through my experience of analyzing brands. And then I'll give you a grade, whether you passed or not the celery test, whether what you're doing and how you do it is in tune with why you're doing it. Okay. And because we have your why here, we can easily analyze that. Would you be down to do this live on the podcast?
Let's go ahead and do it.
Okay, perfect. All right, let me just share my screen with you, Jose. Let me know if you see it, because if you see it, then the people at home also see it.
There it is.
Okay, do you recognize this landing page?
I do.
Okay, perfect. Let us look through it a bit. Okay, so PayPaga logo, green. I like that you're giving a little bit. This green is not what I normally see in fintech. It's okay. I like that you're doing something different. Simple, transparent, and seamless payments in emerging markets. Designed by you, for you, Pay Smart, PayPaga. Pay Smart, PayPaga. What I would do is I would make an emphasis here on your why, because you're not here to pay smart. You're here to free up that time and to simplify stuff. So I would make this whole hero section about you. How did we say it? To simplify the overcomplicated aspects of life. So I would make something about simplifying the payments or something. Offer, this is your what? Okay. Our payments offer and integrate. This is your what? You're talking about the what? Who we are. Okay, I like this, that you have a section of who you are and your mission. But what I would do is I would put this higher up. Because like we said, we need to talk to the old brain, and we first need to get the why, how we're different, and then what we do. That way, it all makes sense and they get inspired to buy. The empower businesses to enter new markets. I would actually put this to, it's actually very good. Yeah. I would just reword the wording here. I would put the simplifying first, but these are just details which you can easily fix. It's nothing to, it's good that it's here. A lot of people don't have it here. Okay, We want to hear from you. Okay, this is okay. Okay. I want to go to the about. It's a landing page. Okay, I
It's
got
a
it.
landing page.
Okay, perfect. Then this makes my job easier, yeah. Okay, so I've seen already enough. I can give you my feedback or my verdict if you want, because I've already seen enough. Okay, stop sharing. There you go. All right, are you ready for my verdict?
I'm ready.
Okay, so when we're looking at, I simply looked at the way. I did not look at any design features. I only looked at the way you express your purpose, and I looked at the color scheme. You have that green, which I haven't seen a lot, so that's a plus. I looked at the copy text itself, and it's okay. I would change the order of the stuff on the landing page, and maybe I would try to find the exact brand voice that works in line with my purpose. Because right now this sounds a little bit too generic. But what you did good is you mentioned your purpose on the landing page, which is good. You you choose the different green, what I normally see, and it flows very well. I would change the order, a little bit the wording, and that's about it. So if I were to give you a grade, for me a passing grade is 7. But 7 means you're already Steve Jobs level of inspiration. No one got a 7 on this podcast ever. I would give you a 5.5 to 6, somewhere over there. That's a good grade, actually, because we had people fail it on the podcast also. So feel good.
Yeah, no. Thanks for the feedback. Definitely something we're going to be working on in the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, right? And now we're going to use this purpose and this why and all this. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it shapes out. So I'm excited to speak with you again, or to send you a note on email or on LinkedIn. Like, check it out now, right? There's gonna be a lot of
Season
work done.
2.
Exactly.
That's actually a good idea. Let's make season 2 with all the guests from the first season, see how they improved. Let's write that down.
Exactly.
Okay. All right then. Well, thank you, Jose, for being with me on this podcast. It was wonderful. And thank you guys for tuning in. I've been your host, Michael Phillips, for today. Make sure you check out the other episodes as well, so you see how Jose's wise compared to other fintechs, emerging or incumbent. Before we leave, Jose, do you have any final words for the guests at home? Maybe some lessons that you want them to walk away with?
Well, before I go, I want to thank you, obviously, for the time and for the space and really for what you're doing. I think you're on a wonderful mission. So keep it going, and kind of ties to you as well, right? I want people to always remember that people are your greatest assets. Without the people that you're surrounded by in a company, it's difficult to get to places. It's difficult to get to your purpose, right? So I think through transparency and through alignment and through a combined why and how, right, and what, you'll get a lot further with people than by yourself, right? So don't forget how crucial people are to every and any organization. That's my message, and yeah, thanking you for the podcast and for this wonderful initiative that you're doing.
No, thank you for being here. And thank you guys again for tuning in. Make sure you check out the other episodes. I'm saying this again. And see how the other wires are comparing. Up until then, I've been Michael Phillips, your host, together with Jose Marti from PayPaga. And we wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you.